Welcome to this chat with the wonderful volunteers of the European Solidarity Corps. This event is brought to you by the European Youth Week. We will talk a little bit about their experience so far, how they find Hungary, and what they have learned during their stay. Guys, could you introduce yourself? David, maybe let's start with you.
Hi, I'm David. I'm from Malta and I'm doing the ESC on the 9th month, I think.
Candan?
Yes, I'm Candan. I'm from Turkey and we are living together with these three.
Okay.
My name is Gustav, I'm from Germany, and I'm doing a volunteership with the two of them.
And then we've got Sarah.
Yes, I'm Sarah. I'm 20 and I'm also from Germany.
You're also from Germany. How did you come into contact with this program? Where did you learn about it?
I actually got contacted by the organization.
Okay. And that's how, basically, did you go for it instantly or did you have to hesitate and think about it?
I applied to different projects and in the end I decided for this one.
Okay. How about Gustav?
Yeah, I also applied for several projects, and in the end it was going on to this one. Also my possibilities were later a little bit limited because of the situation of the pandemic that was just rising up. So I couldn't go for every project that I had applied for in the start, and then this one was the one that I liked the most.
And were you also contacted or did you seek them out?
I seek them out.
Okay. How about Candan?
Actually, I applied so many projects, but after that, there's two options for me. One of them is Finland, the other one Hungary, and I was talking with Agi, and I really like the project. That's why I chose here and came here.
Okay. How about David?
For me, I knew the organization before. We worked together maybe 3-4 years ago, and I like the values, the sense of commitment. Like they do things from the heart, not things like because we have to do it. So when I knew that there was a chance for ESC, I applied immediately, and I'm here.
Okay. So how would you guys describe the kind of tasks and projects that you take part in? This can be like sort of a group discussion, so you don't have to answer one by one. What is it that you do in a program like this?
I think that's a great question. I think in this project we are doing a lot of events. We're taking care of youth house. We do a lot of events with youngsters, with elderly, with the whole village. And I don't know, because of the pandemic we had to limit and because of the restrictions, so we did a lot of online events and sharing on our stories and doing a lot of blog. We started a blog. And I think it's really fun to do everything, and it's so exciting, and you get to do not whatever you want, but you can bring your ideas and they will support you 100%. So for example, I started a live cooking show, which I had no idea that I would do, but here I am. It was really fun.
It's a lot of fun. I recommend it to everybody wholeheartedly because you can rewatch these events. They're recorded.
Yes.
And then, right. How
Yeah.
about Gustav? Because I saw you eagerly wanting to say something.
Initially, the project goal was about offering leisure time activities for the youth of the village, and since we cannot open the youth house anymore because of the pandemic situation, obviously we switched to online activities. I mean, we tried to offer some outside activities with keeping a distance and so on, but the participation for that wasn't that high, of course, because also how everything is limited. So we mainly offering online activities since October or November now, and I mean we're kind of limited, but I think we can reach out to an even bigger target group than just the youth of the village, because so many people from also foreign countries and from all around Hungary can consume the content we're producing.
I mean, I do follow you guys on Instagram.
We too.
Yes, well, but is it? Do you also take over the Instagram?
The Via Talma page is completely administrated by the three of us.
It's great content. I really like, that there's a lot of there's the International Day of, a lot of projects, a lot of, recently I remember that there was something about childbirth as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of prevention, there's a lot of knowledge, it's great. And Sarah, you have a little bit different experience because you're also a volunteer, but you're not here in the village.
Yes. So I work in West Bremen in a kindergarten, and I basically teach the children German. And yeah, I just help out as a kindergarten teacher.
And was this initially what you signed up for? So was this a project that you signed up for?
Yes, exactly.
Fantastic, cool guys. Let's talk a little bit about your expectations and then reality, as media children say nowadays. But let's talk a little bit about Hungary first. And I think, David, you're the only one who's been to Hungary before this program, so the rest of you haven't. How did you expect Hungary to be, what did it then become in reality? Chantal?
For me, it was like I had a lot of fear before coming here because of my family and friends. It's different culture. This is not my first experience abroad, but it was like they afraid, and I was like, what will happen? I don't know. And when I first came here, it was like I'm at home. I never felt like I'm a foreigner or something. We have a lot of similarities, and I was like, yes, it was really good.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about similarities and differences between your culture and Hungarian culture. But let's see what Gustav expected before he came here.
So, I mean, I didn't have like a lot of expectations. I didn't have like one clear mindset or imagination how it would look, because I really wanted to get surprised and wanted to, yeah, be like in a situation that I didn't expect. But I mean, I knew that Hungary is an EU country, so I knew that there's like a base standard of human rights and hygiene and so on. But actually I expected some, especially economic stuff, to be like a little bit lower, maybe more higher unemployment rate, or more stuff that's run down and not working properly, especially like public transport and so on. Didn't expect all of this to be as similar as at home. And also the supermarkets and the office there. It's like, I mean, basically the same as at home, just that the price tags are in Hungarian and in forints.
Are much lower in price as well.
Not even much lower. It's
Really?
like the
Okay.
vegetable prices are basically the same as in Germany.
Good to hear that, guys. So, Sarah, you have a little bit different experience in a way that you don't work in a village, but you work in a town. How is it different from what you expected?
I actually expected the children to speak a bit more German, but I'm still happy that we can communicate and it's still fun. And everyone's really nice and very welcoming, and I'm very happy about that because I also was very scared, but I probably met one of the nicest people here in Hungary.
Great. So, David, compared to what you had experienced in the past when you came to Hungary, how is it different?
I'm not sure I'm able to tell you at the moment, because the first time I experienced Hungary was maybe 4 years ago. So by now it's like Hungary is kind of like a home. I remember I was on the train station in Budapest maybe 3 years ago, and I was thinking, wow, it's so nice, so cool. In Malta we don't have any train stations, so it was like, wow, it's so clean, so nice, and so punctual. So for me it was like, wow, it's impressive.
So you guys have been here for several months now, close to a year, and I'm sure that you've learned some Hungarian. How is your Hungarian going? Kicsi? Is it a hard language?
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
I think the pronunciation is not even that hard, because there's like strict rules, and if you follow them, I think for the German tongue it's kind of easy to pronounce most of the letters, except for the GY.
Okay.
Yeah, the words, there's like, in many other languages, like in English or Spanish, there's always some common words with other languages, so we also already have some vocabulary, but here it's basically no common words, and everything, like, I cannot see a connection to the other languages that I've learned before.
Yes, I have heard that from several people from different countries, that they try to find the connection, Now I think that Hungarian is evolving and there's a lot of foreign words coming in. There's some stuff you will understand, like the word DJ. Right, but what about English? Have you been able to get around? And also, how much did you have to rely on body language?
No, actually, professional person is David. He is like can connect with everyone, can speak with everyone but the language. But I watch him and he is like the person explain everything with body language. Like if it's pork, he's like no or something else, and the other person will understand every time. And in this time also I learned some stuff from him and from the children because we have to have done with English. And yeah, in this time I learned and I had to use body language a lot.
Do Hungarians speak English generally?
I would say yes, but they are very shy. So we say no, nem angol, but then you start to speak and they're understanding you and they kind of try to reply and you know that their English is really good. So I think they're just shy about their English and I don't think they practice a lot with others. So the one they learn is not practicable, so when you don't practice something you don't able to, you're shy and nervous to speak it, but I think they speak really good English.
I mean, this is, I've heard Americans often say that Hungarians are very hard to crack. At first they will not open up to you, but when they do, you become family. Is this something that you have experienced?
I think, yeah, kind of similar. I don't think that they are so hard to crack because, like, many of them are very open to have a conversation and so on. But yes, not many are open to speak English from themselves, especially not like cashiers or conductors in the train or so on. They don't really like to start speaking in another language, so they just like wave you through and just try to solve it in another way. I think it also depends on where you go, because in Budapest I experienced like that everybody's speaking English perfectly and that there's no one whoever hesitates to speak English. But yeah, like in the villages or small cities like Székesfehérvár, it's not so common.
Tara, what's your experience?
I actually experienced that sometimes German is even more common than English, especially near Balaton. I feel like so many people speak German, or are used to German tourists, so sometimes I don't even need to speak English, or I ask whether they speak English or German, and they actually sometimes want that I speak German with them rather than English.
It's a running thing in Hungary. It's kind of a running joke that around the beginning of May, when no Hungarian would ever go into Balaton, you can already start to see German tourists go in and go for a dip. So, and yes, definitely around touristy places. We can't say that Madaramas is a very touristy place. But I'm very, very glad to hear that you guys got some English out of people.
And if I may add something about you said that Americans say it's very hard to crack. I think the key to cracking the language is Palinka.
Yes. So for those people who don't know what Palinka is, how would you guys define Palinka?
Water of life.
Water of life, yes, okay.
I think it can be compared to schnapps for everybody who knows that, or brandy for people who don't know schnapps is. So it's kind of a fermented and distilled fruit liquor. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's probably stronger than any liquor I've ever had. And have you guys tried all sorts? Have you guys tried shop bought and homemade?
I haven't tried shop bought because everybody told me that I shouldn't.
Same.
Very good.
The homemade is the
Yes, well, and you know, in the homemade selection you can also find different varieties, but a piece of advice for somebody who would love to come to Hungary, try Palinka and wait for a family to offer it to you. Their own homemade, every Hungarian family will treat their own Palinka as their own children, so, you know. Okay, so, yes?
I wanted to add to what Sarah said about German, because actually once a train conductor got kind of mad at me because I approached him in in spoken English. And then later he found out that I'm speaking German actually. And then he was like, yeah, why don't you start speaking to me in German? Like, you don't do that in Hungary, that you approach someone in English, although you can speak German.
Yeah, I think
Sorry.
it's more the youth that will speak English, and there's I think somewhere between my age group and my parents' age group, almost everybody will go for German, and older people will even speak some Russian because of history. Right. So in this time that you've spent here, have you felt homesickness? David?
I guess. I'm not sure I felt homesick. It's more that I felt that I'm limited because of the COVID situation. So I was like, but again, if I was at home, probably I would feel the same all the time. But for me, I love traveling, I love living abroad, I love meeting people. It's just, for me, it was a very good experience. At one point, you start to miss maybe the food of your town, and like maybe some easy access. Like for example, I miss driving my car at home, but not really homesick. That I must go back. I need to go back.
But the way you dealt with that is basically you created your own live cooking show. So, so that's how people should deal with it too. Is
Ask
it,
your family to send you some ingredients from home, and then you can come like, oh yeah, okay, nothing, okay.
is it hard to find ingredients here?
From Malta, yes, I think it's impossible. I've never seen any, but I think from other countries, in Tesco or in any, please give us money if you're sponsoring. You can find some common ingredients and similar. So, for example, I recreated a Maltese tira with ingredients from me, and it tasted very similar.
Nice, good.
It's not something.
Jandan, how about homesickness?
To be honest, I never felt like homesick. Maybe I miss some points, like in my family, I miss my family, but I never felt like homesick. I don't know. Because of COVID, I think this is the only reason I couldn't manage to go. So, I don't feel.
Gustav?
For me, it's also very similar to what David said, because I didn't feel homesick in any way, but especially when the numbers of cases were very high here in Hungary, and also there were new death records every day, I didn't feel secure at all here, and I felt and also I had spent the last month just with the same people and with a very limited amount of people, and before the pandemic I used to meet so many different people every day and have so many different contacts, and I felt if I might be home right now, I would maybe be able to meet with more different friends, maybe not with all of them at once, but through the time. But here I'm not able to get to know new people or to meet so many different people. And in that way I felt very limited, and I also felt it might be better at home, but it was not the normal kind of homesickness.
You said that you didn't feel secure, but I guess it was because of the virus, and
Yes.
you wouldn't have felt secure anywhere else. So this was quite a...
Kind of no, because the way that people wear masks here kind of differs from home, and also the kind of masks they wear here, because at home you're supposed to wear the masks that also protect yourself, and they are much more secure also
Yeah.
for the other people. And here there's no limitations, and some people even wear masks with holes or anything in them, or with the filters. It's also just kind of a no-go everywhere else, and that's why. I mean, it's not about Hungary, but just about how the government handles this. But for me, it's also made me feel insecure that people are still walking around with the cloth masks instead of proper medical masks.
Well, I really hope that by the time people who want to come to Hungary, this won't be an issue. Sarah, how about you? Were you homesick, or have you been homesick in your stay?
Not really, because I'm in general not that homesick. I really enjoy my time abroad, and I also think that we are kind of like a small family also with the organization. So I feel like if we have any problems or if we're feeling lonely, that we can always share our thoughts and build each other up.
So did you feel that you always had somebody to reach out to?
Yes, definitely.
Is the program nationwide in Hungary, so are there several locations where people can go?
I think yes, depending on the organization that you found. I think it's European based, so anywhere in Europe that there's an organization, you can go.
And are you in touch with other volunteers in Hungary as well?
Yes.
And well, I guess it's been limited because of the pandemic, but did you also manage to meet people and make friends from other volunteers as well, and not just Hungarians?
And that's
Yes.
good because, sorry, and it's good because you also get, to invite them over, and then you can go visit their city, and you have a place to stay, and you can do fun things, and it's like a bigger community. So instead of having one home with the volunteers, like you're having a home all over Hungary, and even maybe outside of Hungary. So it's really great.
So the three of you work in Madarames, which is a relatively small village. It's a very small village in the heart of Fayette County. But you live in the town nearby, Székesfehérvár, and Sarah, you live in Veszprém. But you have spent a lot of time here as well visiting these guys. How would you compare Hungarian villages, well, a Hungarian village to a Hungarian town? What are the differences in places, people, opportunities?
I think it's not really different from any other European country because towns and villages is always like a big difference, and the difference between the countries is smaller than the difference between town and village. I mean, mostly your shopping opportunities, the way how you can meet people, the amount of pubs and bars, obviously, but also any other opportunities to go out and do something, sport activities. For example, in Székesfehérvár, right outside our flat, we have a lot of parks where we can do body exercises. That's a possibility that really I like to use. But here in the village, that's not really that much possibilities. So you kind of have to buy your own stuff to be able to work out and so on.
Unless you join the local football team, which I guess then you guys haven't. Very sad. Sarah, how about for you? Because you have spent the majority of your time so far more in a town than in a village. Is it very different?
I actually like spending time in the village more because you're closer to the people, and in a big town you can feel a bit more lonely, even though there are many people, but no one really talks to you, and here it's just more comfortable, kind of.
Did you, or have you guys gotten used to the fact that in the village everybody says hello to everybody? Is this something that you would do back at home as well?
In a village,
In
yes.
a village.
City, no.
Okay. Yes, I have heard some people say when they first came to Hungary, they said, I don't know these people. Why are they saying hello to me? So it might be different. For example, again, Americans, because they don't really have villages, they have close-knit communities, but not villages. And this was completely unknown to them when I brought them here. And everybody was saying hello, and they said, do you know all these people? And I said, no, not all of them, not by name, but I've probably seen every single face in this village. Right, let's talk food. How is Hungarian food? Jandan.
For me, it wasn't that bad because Hungarian food and Turkish food is almost similar. We have a lot of similarities. Like Hungarian people like pastries, and people like pastries, and for example, pogača and pogača, it's totally the same, and we have a lot of kind of foods. And for me, only difficult thing was that meat, because I don't eat meat, and all this time I used it, like I learned how to eat meat, and right now I'm eating pork and the other stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were you a vegetarian before you came to Hungary?
Not exactly, but kind of, yes.
Very limited meat intake.
Yes.
Okay, yes, Hungary will teach you that meat is part of pretty much every single meal.
Also, they have paprika. Yeah, you have
Yes.
paprika. This is my only problem with Hungarian foods because all of the foods include paprika.
Yes. So most Hungarian food will start with take a kilo of onions and then saute the onions and then paprika and then meat. This is basically, and then that can then become a soup, it can become a stew. You know, the options are, well, not endless, but very paprika, onion, and sort of meat oriented. What was the weirdest food that you've tried?
I don't remember the exact name, but there was a lot of tongue, pork tongue, and the thing, I don't remember the name.
Knuckles?
Yeah. It it was so weird for me. It was jelly also, not like soup, but they said it was like soup. I was like, okay. It was so weird for me. I don't eat wheat. Imagine how I felt at that moment.
Very, very weirded out, I assume. Sarah, what about you? How did you find Hungarian food?
I also think that there's a lot of meat, and I also wasn't used to it. But it's very interesting, and the weirdest food I ate was like pasta with powdered sugar and marmalade. And I don't know, in Germany we mostly eat pasta with something salty, tomato sauce, and that was, I don't know, really weird, and I cannot get used to it.
I'm not surprised. Sometimes I try to look at our food from an outsider's perspective and I'm like, whoa, yeah, this must be really weird. But sometimes Hungarian food sounds weirder than what it actually is in the end. But I'm glad that you guys are adventurous and trying stuff like random stuff. We also do other sweet pastas. We do it with poppy seed and powdered sugar and walnuts and powdered sugar, just like you eat pasta. How about Gustav?
So for me, the food was actually at first I was like very positively surprised because there was so much delicious stuff, langosh, cacao chica, and so on, and everything was so nice. And also the like main courses, there were a lot of similarities to also some southwestern German dishes. We also eat a lot of potatoes, like they do here. In like restaurants, we also serve a lot of meat. But then now I think like it's way too much meat for me, and like at home I ate meat once a month,
Okay.
and now I eat meat like nearly every day, and it's like so too much for me. Like from an environmental perspective and from a health perspective, I feel so bad for the diet that I'm following here.
But we are talking about traditional Hungarian food, so you do have a choice in Hungary, just, for people who want to be vegetarians, vegans coming here, it is an option. Although I must say that restaurants are a little bit behind when it comes to, now there's a lot of vegetarian and vegan places opening and popping up, but in the past 10 years, if you were a vegetarian, it would be like fried vegetables.
I think
rice.
we have to add that we get food from the kindergarten here at work, and there's no vegetarian option. So it's meat
Because
every
children
day.
should eat meat every day, according to Hungarians. Yes? How about David?
I think some difference is that in Malta we eat more, let's say, Mediterranean cuisine, like not cooking just the bread with oil and cheese and this stuff. And here the food for me it was more heavy, I guess. And also that you use a lot of sour cream
Yes.
for everything. I love it. So
Sour cream is the Hungarian ketchup, just so you understand.
Yes, but I like it, so for me it's not a problem. And yes, I think also one of the strangest food I ate was pasta with cocoa powder and Nutella, but I loved it. It's like,
Okay, that is not a traditional Hungarian dish, just so that we understand.
during a project that were in Hungary, so Hungarian chefs prepared it, so for me it was
Not a traditional. Or I might have not been. I mean, Nutella is generally not very Hungarian, I must say.
I think they put the Nutella, but it was just cocoa powder, and then I added the Nutella.
Okay. So that was your old Malton twist. Gustav, you didn't tell us what your weirdest experience was.
Yeah, it's like I think generally the fruit soup, because for me, I don't really mind having a sweet main course, because we also have some sweet main courses, or in Austria they also have a lot, and we often went there for holidays, so I'm kind of used to having a sweet main course. But eating a sweet soup as a and then eating a salty main course, that was very weird for me. I didn't really dislike it in any way, I just couldn't get used to it by now.
I think I would have been very unpleasantly surprised if fruit soup didn't come up in this conversation, because foreigners somehow don't seem to be able to get their heads around fruit soup. But I'm also surprised that none of you guys mentioned urka, which is blood or liver sausages. So
I actually we have it at home in Germany, at our place, and I love it there, and they loved it here. When I saw it the first time, I was so excited to eat it again. So actually, it wasn't weird at all for me. It was just like, I love it.
Did you guys ever eat húsleves, which is just a meat broth? It's kind of a clear broth, but oftentimes traditionally we cook all sorts of bits of chicken in there. For example, the feet. You know, so there's sometimes your pot of food says hello. It's great. Right. Did you guys also spend Christmas here? How was Christmas? No? Did you guys go home?
Yes.
Okay, well, I will have the two of you now. How was Christmas here?
You should ask your son.
Yes. Okay. So just for people
Yes,
who
yes.
don't know what happened, David dressed up as Santa Claus because in Hungary, the 6th of December is the day that Santa Claus comes. Do you guys remember who brings the presents on the 24th to children?
Jesus.
It's little Jesus, yes, baby Jesus brings you the present, obviously. And so we have St. Nicholas's Day on the 6th of December, and David was lovely enough to dress up as Santa Claus and go around the village in a cart, which was pulled by horses. Coolest thing ever.
I know.
But yes, my then almost 1-year-old child found it terrifying. He wasn't terrified of you. He was terrified of a lot of strangers. He's a COVID baby, but we have some fantastic photos of him crying on the cart on David's lap. So how was Christmas? Is Hungarian? Do you guys celebrate Christmas at home?
No, we don't.
You
have
don't.
Christmas.
Okay. And so how was it celebrating it here? So then I guess you didn't have a lot of homesickness over Christmas.
It was fun for me.
It was fun, David.
And for me, I had some homesickness in that regard because usually in my family at home we meet like with the whole family with my aunts, uncles, and we have a big meal, you know, with 3-course meal, and then afterwards dessert, tea, fruits, nuts, cake. And I also wanted to make this experience, and once I made all this three for them. But it was a bit, but at the same time, at my home, because of COVID, they didn't do the big thing. So it was like, okay. But staying here, it was good, it's nice. And I got to experience the Hungarian Christmas.
And how is Hungarian Christmas?
For me, it was interesting. This was my first Christmas time, and it's like normally we don't have Christmas trees, Santa Claus, the things, everything was for me so exciting, and I was like, oh my god, it's like unbelievable, and I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed my time.
And a lot of meat, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yes, our organization, they brought us food, also David prepared a lot of food. I was like, oh my god, if I ate this, I will be like huge, which is I gained 2 kilograms this week. Yeah.
Have you guys gained weight since you're here?
Yeah.
Yes, they usually no.
Sadly, no.
Yes, they usually say that wherever you go for a foreign exchange, you will gain a few kilos. So people should expect that, but I think it's part of the experience. But you all look great, so don't worry about it too much.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much. Yes, but I have been in this foreign exchange program in Hungary for 30 years now. So I'm going to ask you guys together, are you from similar parts of Germany, like close to each other?
No.
No. Would you say that?
I mean, yeah, closer than to Erik.
Yeah,
Like, he's another volunteer in West Brom, and he lives like in the north of Germany, so very far away from me.
So would your customs and traditions within Germany be very different?
I don't think so.
I would say yes. I mean, especially the food is different.
Yeah.
Because the food is very regional in Germany. We just have a few dishes that are like all over Germany. I mean, I think they eat potatoes all over Germany, but like there's a lot of regional food.
So the reason for this is I would like to ask you guys to think about similarities and differences between German, Turkish and Maltese culture and people. So what was the most similar? Let's take food out of the picture because we've had that. What is the most similar thing about culture, the two cultures and the people? Sarah, what do you think? In what way are Hungarians and Germans very similar to each other? Are they?
I think that Hungarians are way more emotional
Okay.
and more outgoing with their emotions because Germans are always a bit, I don't know, more quiet and sometimes really direct when they give their opinion, but a bit cool, like not as loving maybe, or it seems like they're not so nice,
Okay.
but they actually are, but maybe they seem a bit mean sometimes.
So Hungarians are more open about their emotions.
Yes.
Okay, Gustav, did you experience that too?
Yeah, I feel very similar about that. As Sarah said, also when we meet people for the first time, we are not as welcoming and as hearty, and we don't, like also when we meet someone for the first time, we don't hug them and so on. And here, often they already hug and they already are so lovely and really tell someone that they like them, although they just met them for the first time. And we usually really hide our emotions also when we feel bad. We don't show that in public, and you can only like tell that someone feels bad if you know them. And we also maybe kind of expect other people to only realize when they know us and then maybe approach us, but we don't go on a bus or something like that and cry or something like that, because we try to seem
Hide
professional
your
every
emotions,
time, all the time, yes. And also it's the same with love and happy feelings. We don't, also on parties and so on, we don't really show that we like everybody so much.
How about Turkish people and Hungarian people?
I think I'm the lucky one, all of these people, because Hungarian culture and Turkish culture is so similar. We love hugging each other. If we saw someone else, we just hug and kiss, and we are like so happy. We are showing our feelings every time. And this was the first thing on my mind. Yeah, we are so similar. We are hugging and kissing each other. The second one is hospitality. It's like we want to share everything with our guests. Like we want to make them like their home. And this is the second thing. It was like so good for me because I came here and everyone like hugging, kissing, and hospitality. I was like, oh my god, that's like.
How about Maltese people and Hungarians?
I think the most common thing is that like Malta is such a small country that it feels like a huge village. So when I was in the village, maybe not in the town, but in the village it feels like at home because everyone's like, hey, how are you? And you're talking to everyone, you know, nothing like you maybe have seen the face. And also the hospitality is like very similar, and I don't know, it's like you care of someone even if you don't know them, you'll try to help them. And I think in Hungary everyone's trying to, if they need something, they will go way out of their way. And like you said, it's maybe hard to crack and bring in, but once then they will go above and beyond. And for me, that's very.
What has been your favorite experience so far, David?
Which one?
Other than making my
my
son
second
cry.
experience. Okay, so my second favorite experience. Can we go with others first? Because I need
Yes.
to think about.
Of course.
I actually wanted to add something to the hospitality because I think Sarah and I both have experienced this. Hungarians are very hospitable and they want to invite you and so on. But for us, it's kind of common if you stay at a place and you're drinking there together, then someone probably will offer you to stay there overnight and will offer you a place to sleep. And here I rarely experience that people offer you to sleep at their place. They always think, okay, you will get home sometime and somehow. Maybe it's also different in the village and in the city here, but it was at first it was kind of surprising for me because we like always offer the people to stay at our place, except for if we know that they have to go home to their parents or if we know how they get home. But if we don't know, then
I don't think I've ever heard this from anybody, and I think it's interesting to me. Well, it's because I'm personally the type of person that will make you stay at my place to make sure that you're safe. You can only, go when it's light, and I know that you're safe. But I also have this inner grandmother who's only happy if everybody's like really well fed, has a bed to stay. But that's very interesting because I've never heard anybody say that about Hungarians. But
I mean, maybe it's just the youth of the village here that we experienced, because actually in Székesfehérvár many people offered us to stay.
Oh, this
And-
doesn't, the fact that I don't do this doesn't make your experience illegitimate. It's completely legit. It's just very interesting to me. But now that you have the word, what was your, or what has been your favorite experience so far, Gustav?
I think it's very hard to bring it down to one favorite experience, because there was like, I think if you stay a year at any place, is it home or is it abroad, you have a lot of good experience and a lot of bad experience. And I mean, staying abroad will usually make you have more of both, because you're more in strange situations and more in situations that are uncommon, and that's the reason why they are good. So I cannot really say that there's like one single event that was my favorite, but in generally, I'm so happy that I'm able to travel so much, see so many different places in the country, and meet so many new people. And every time when I meet someone new and they tell me their story and I tell mine, and I feel like, okay, we already have a connection, although we are from different countries, we don't speak the same language so good. And there's like so many differences, but still we already get a connection. All of these times were like my favorite moments.
Chantal, can you pinpoint one?
I'm trying to think about it, but I agree with Kutsi, because it's like a lot of moments. There's good, a lot of moments, and I can't say this one is my favorite or bad. I have mostly good moments in Hungary.
Can you guys think of anything funny that has happened to you?
I think it's a bit weird, but the cat calling here is so nice. It's like they blow you kisses or roll down the window and shout "see ya," and I don't know, it's
Some gentle Hungarian catcalling.
I don't feel threatened, so it's just like nice. Hello, how are you? And
Well, that never happens to me, but let's not say why. Well, it's because you're gorgeous. But I'm very, very glad that it's a good experience. I've never heard anybody say that Hungarians are gentle catcallers, but that's something I'll add to the list. David, how has your experience been with catcalling?
Yes, usually they roll down the window. I've never had this. I'm not sure. My experience with catcalling, really.
No, your
Experience in general.
your favorite experience, something funny, something that really comes to your mind.
Okay, I think I have two quick stories. One of them is once we were hiking and walking down the way, there was some guy at a place, I don't know what it was, and we were just looking at some pottery that he has outside, and it's like, hey, come, Palinka, come. And we take a Palinka, he's giving us wine, and like he has like many posters of award winning of his wine, it's really good wine. And say, thank you, we walk, and then at one point we're supposed to go to one castle, and there's another guy, and he invites us in. And again, we're drinking with this guy, I don't know, he offered us to stay at the place without knowing them or anything. Like,
Must have not been a true Hungarian. We used to
we saw two of them within an hour difference, and they don't live next to each other, so it was interesting. And the interesting one is, I think, the first time we met the mayor. We're just doing games, and he didn't speak so good English. But I think after 15 minutes, we are at the mayor's house, and he's showing us his lovely fermented fruits.
Must I
There
say,
is-
I have never been to the mayor's house, so well done, guys. And just a quick thought, or sort of a closing moment. I would like to ask you to think about what you think is the biggest lesson that you've learned, or the thing that you will definitely take home with you. And I'll let whichever one of you want to begin. So what is that you're definitely taking home with you? What's the lesson you learned here?
I will say communication. I learned this in Hungary. Communication is important, and living with other people, with other cultures, it's really important. You have to communicate for everything, and this is the biggest lesson I learned from Hungary. And communicate more.
I think for me also, communication is a very big lesson that I would take, and also that people come from different culture, different environments. So what is normal and standard for me maybe offensive or something different for others. And the fact that you're here and to be open is one thing that will take you to open many doors for you, and you will be able to even go beyond the expectation of what you thought that could be possible.
Cool.
Your turn.
I think I got way more independent, and I will probably appreciate more what my mom did for me at home. But also maybe I learned how to live on my own, and maybe I want to continue it when I come home, and I don't even want to move in with my mom because yeah, it's actually not that hard, and you can do things the way you want. So I learned a lot about myself, and I think that's a good experience.
Cool stuff.
I think personally, I learned about that there's good moments to start to approach a problem or to start a conversation, and there's bad moments, and that no problem is that urgent that you should try to solve it in that moment, then it rises up, but that you should always try to set up an environment where everybody that is involved feels comfortable. And so it also adds like to communication that David and Janet said, but it's about not making the others uncomfortable or not stressing someone else, but setting up an environment, really communicating in a more calm way, I would say.
Guys, thank you so much for sharing with me, and enjoy the rest of your experience. Have a great time and enjoy Hungary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.